Welcome back to Common Sense, everybody. I'm Wendy Bell. If we really are truly in a race to the bottom, and it sure feels like it in America today, we can thank blue state governors like Gavin Newsom, Kathy Hochul, Jared Polis, Maura Healey, and Democrat mayors Eric Adams, Brandon Johnson, Michelle Wu, and Mike Johnston for literally slashing the cables on the elevator so we all plummet to the bottom faster. I want to talk about these epicenters of American decay. San Francisco and Chicago and Denver and New York City, because these places now suck. And the people who live there, who remember what life was like before the communist, socialist, Marxist, progressive Democrats pretty much ruined everything, are getting clobbered by outrageous taxes, dangerous streets, an overburdened social welfare system that prefers anybody it can abuse and absorb under the guise of helping. Let's bring back the panel. Dan O'Donnell hosts the Dan O'Donnell Show on News Talk 1130 WISN out of Milwaukee. From New Jersey, Mary Walter hosts the Mary Walter Radio Podcast, which airs Tuesdays on YouTube. And Chris Arps co-hosts the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on News Talk 101.9, 94.1 FM out of St. Louis. Mary, I want to start with you here, okay? Because in addition to the District of Columbia, which had a 39% violent crime increase last year, there are 11 sanctuary states in America: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. Did you know that the sanctuary policies prevent federal authorities from locating, arresting, and prosecuting criminal aliens? So sanctuary status, Mayor, inherently means everybody is less safe. I mean, do the liberals know what they're voting for?
So it's an interesting phenomenon, because your analogy of cutting the rope to the elevator and the rest of us plummet down, where do the elites stay? They stay up on safe ground. So we've hit that point in the Democrats' plan, and the liberals have mapped this out, I'm sure probably decades ago, of how to get one-party rule so that the elites could have total control. And part of that is bringing all these people in. Those states that you mentioned also are moving to the popular vote compact, right? Mm-hmm. So they're vowing that instead of allotting the electors based on what the people want, it's going to be the popular vote. Well, where are the most populous areas in those states? In the cities. What's being dumped in those cities? A bunch of bodies, a bunch of illegals, right? In those cities. Well, if they just happen to vote, and I'm not saying they all will, but if you get enough of them to cast ballots, not knowing that what they're doing is illegal. I mean, what the heck? They've already broke in illegally, so what's another one, right? So you can flip it very easily. So they get what they want, and they're heading toward, as I said, towards one-party rule. As for the crimes, note that if they are not reporting as many crimes, because what do we keep hearing? Crime's down. Crime is down.
Right.
Don't believe your bashed in head. Right. Crime is down because they're not reporting it. So if you don't report it, it didn't happen. So it's a game
true.
That they're
no,
playing.
It's good.
Yeah. Whether they wake up, who knows?
Right. Yeah. When is anyone going to? I agree with you. You know, and Chris, you're in St. Louis. I love St. Louis. You guys are having the same problems we're having in Pittsburgh. Think about this. Sanctuary City, Chicago, where this Mayor Brandon Johnston guy sucks only slightly less than Lori Lightfoot. Anti-war activists are being coached how to say this in Farsi. I want you to check out this footage from the Free Press. Listen.
So you're going to say, Mard Bar. Mard Bar. Mard Bar Israel. 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 Thank you.
What does that mean?
It has two meanings, depending on who's asking. It can mean death to or down with. So
can we get a Mard Bar America?
We can get a Mard Bar America. Yes, we can. Mard Bar America. Mard Bar America.
Oh. What? You guys, that means death to Israel and, of course, death to America. What is going on, Chris?
You know, there used to be a beautiful ideal in this country that you came to America to make a better life for yourself. You eventually assimilated it into the culture. Didn't mean that you got rid of your culture, but you assimilated into the American culture. And what we witnessed there is just another example of what we see, people coming into this country that have no intention whatsoever of assimilating into the culture. A lot of them don't want to become citizens. A lot of them are probably potential terrorists hiding out in a potential terror cell. well. We don't know that. As you said, Wendy, I'm here in St. Louis. Kansas City, St. Louis and Kansas City, both of these cities wrestle with being the #1 crime, murder capital of the United States. Just yesterday, the mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, he has stated that he wants Kansas City to become a sanctuary city, and he is wanting some of these Texas and Southern governors to send some of their migrants up to Kansas City. Now, that probably won't happen. Missouri is a very red state. We have a supermajority in the legislature, and our governor is a Republican. So he may just be saying that because it knows that it won't happen. But you actually have the mayor of Quentin Lucas saying yesterday he wants illegals to come to Kansas City.
Yeah, I got to put him on my list then. Thank you for that. And Dan, in Gavin Newsom's California, migrants don't just receive sanctuary. Trans kids who want to mutilate their bodies do as well. So do adults who want to buy children for sex. Wait, what? Yeah, it's happening. Purchasing a child for sex. Did you guys know this is a misdemeanor in California? Is sanctuary code for totally psycho. Dan.
This is utterly shocking. And when I say a law is actually evil, this is actually evil. I can't think of something worse, short of, say, the sexual assault of a child, the murder of a child, the torture of a child, than the sexual trafficking of a child. And I think what this is tied into is all of the human trafficking cases that California gets going across the southern border. But what this essentially amounts to is believing child sex slavery or child labor slavery to be nothing more than a misdemeanor. I mean, we fought a civil war, a war against ourselves as Americans to end the concept of slavery, to end the legal owning of another human
Alive
being.
And well.
Only for it to be, you're right, alive and well in the wokest state in the entire union. Honestly, when I saw this cross the wire, I was nauseated.
Right. And Mary, white liberals, it's white liberals are also destroying the sanctuary city of Philadelphia, where addiction activists have turned a minority neighborhood called Kensington into this open-air drug market. It's ground zero for the city's opioid crisis. Neighbors say if they speak out against the Biden-endorsed harm reduction policy that prioritizes users' safety over their sobriety, they will be vilified. It's good old bullying, right? Par for the course, Mayor.
Listen, white liberal women, I'm sorry, but we need to have a moratorium on them voting. They are horrible creatures, and they all hang around together. They're miserable. Nobody wants to be around them. They're just horrible. They're also the most racist group of people in this country because they're all for these policies. They're also misogynist because they're for men and women's sports. They tell me that black people can't get IDs. I bet you Chris has an ID. But he probably shouldn't because he's black, and the white liberal women say that people like Chris, they're not smart enough to get an ID, right? So they go on and on and on. All these policies that wind up in this, and what do? They're not subject to any of it because they're in their big SUV in the suburbs on their way to a pickleball lesson. So Kensington does not factor into their world at all, and they're just happy that the illegal, brings them their water at the end of their pickleball lesson. So they are.
You've got a lot packed in there, Mary. A lot packed in there. I always say it's the white college-educated liberal woman, the scourge of our country. Guys, thank you for your time. Can't wait to have you all back. Appreciate you.